Many people believe wealth is created through luck, inheritance, or extremely high income. In reality, wealth is most often the result of consistent habits practiced over time. Are you ready? Of course you are. Let's go through the 7 habits that make people wealthy even if you start with nothing.
What if building real, lasting wealth wasn't about your salary, but about your daily routine? Well, today, we're breaking down the 7 habits that are the real secret sauce behind financial success. So forget all those get-rich-quick schemes. We are going to focus on the simple, powerful behaviors you can literally start today.
So let's just get right into it. When you picture a wealthy person, what pops into your head? A lottery winner? Some surprise inheritance? Or maybe that 1 in a million job? You know, it's so easy to just chalk it all up to luck. But the reality is, for the vast majority of people who are financially successful, luck has almost nothing to do with it.
And this slide really lays it all out, doesn't it? On one side, you've got the myth, this idea that wealth is something that just happens to you. But then, look at the reality. Wealth is something you build. It's the result of small, consistent habits that you practice day in and day out. That's the whole game right there. It's about your actions, not your circumstances.
Okay, so where do we start? We start with the foundation. The first 2 habits we're going to talk about are all about mastering your financial defense. See, before you can even think about growing your wealth, you've got to protect what you already have and build a super stable base to launch from.
And just look at how simple this is. It's a powerful 2-step dance. Step 1, live below your means. It's that simple. Spend less than you earn. And step 2, pay yourself first. This is a game changer. It means saving and investing become the first thing you do with your money, not the last thing you do with whatever's left over.
Let's really dig into that first step for a second. Living below your means. This isn't about feeling deprived. It's about being disciplined. When wealthy people get a raise, their first thought isn't, ooh, time for a fancier car. Nope. They immediately direct that extra cash toward assets that build their wealth. They actively fight that urge for lifestyle inflation so they can fuel their future instead.
Okay, so once your defense is rock solid, it is time to go on the offense. This is the fun part. This is where you shift from just protecting your money to actively making it grow. So, welcome to the growth engine.
Now, this offensive strategy, it's really built on 3 powerful pillars. First, you've got to invest consistently. Second, you commit to continuously learning about money. And third, you work on building multiple streams of income so you're never just relying on a single paycheck.
So what does consistent investing actually mean? Well, it's not about being some stock market wizard who can predict the future. It's actually the opposite. It's about systematically putting money to work, month after month, and letting the magic of compound growth do all the heavy lifting for you. Seriously, think of it like a snowball rolling downhill. The longer it rolls, the bigger it gets. Time is your absolute superpower here.
This next habit is one that gets overlooked all the time, but it is so critical. Wealth is not built on autopilot. People who really succeed with their finances are lifelong learners. They're actively reading, listening, and just staying plugged into what's happening with money and the economy. And that knowledge empowers them to make much smarter decisions.
And this chart says it all, right? That little bar on the left, that's the risk you take when you rely on just one paycheck. But that much taller bar on the right, that's the power and security that comes from having multiple income streams. It's not just about earning more money, it's about building a financial fortress that gives you real stability and a ton of options.
All right, so we've got our defense locked in and our offense is rolling. But what's the glue that holds it all together? It's the mindset. This final section is all about the 2 habits that define the long game, the strategic thinking you need to see this whole journey through.
You know, wealthy people don't just drift through their financial lives. They navigate. They actually create a map for their future, just like you see here. Setting clear long-term goals for retirement, a business, whatever, it's not just wishful thinking. It gives you a why for every single choice you make today. It's what keeps you going when things get tough.
And that brings us to what might just be the hardest but also the most important habit of them all. Just take a look at this quote. Wealth rarely happens overnight. It is the result of consistent effort, wise decision-making, and patience. This whole thing is a marathon, not a sprint. It's about trusting the process, especially on those days when it feels like you're not making any progress. That's when this habit of patience really counts.
So, we've covered the what and the why. But honestly, the most critical part is the how. Transforming these ideas from just a list on a screen into actual wealth in your life, well, that starts right now with your very first step.
So let's bring it all home. Here it is, the complete playbook, all in one place. This isn't some secret code, it's a system. You start with that defensive foundation to get stable. Then you unleash your offensive growth engine to build some real momentum. And you guide the entire thing with a long-term mindset. These aren't just 7 random tips, they're interconnected habits that work together to forge a path to lasting wealth.
And that pretty much brings us to the end. But really, this is the starting line for you. Looking at this list, the only question left to ask yourself is this: which habit will you start today?